What's going on, y'all? Welcome to my channel and welcome to the first episode of my small account challenge. So I really wanted to start a new challenge because, as you can see on my channel, I started a challenge 2 years ago. I graduated college. I'm in law school now. I wanted to start this new challenge because I've seen there's an influx of people learning to trade options, learning how to trade in general, seeing that this it's a valid source of side income. You always want to increase your sources of revenue. So I wanted to start this small account challenge so I could show y'all how I, decide what trades I'm gonna take and hopefully teach you guys something too about how to trade options and how options work. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to get to them. But yeah, so we'll keep it brief with this first episode. As you can see, I'm up, 10% on the day. This week I'm up $620. So I started the account with 1,500 a couple days ago, and I've looked at two stocks so far. I've taken a few trades, but I've been sticking with the same two stocks. So currently the market's in a downtrend, Iran war. And my thought process is, all right, let me look for stocks that are in a similar downtrend that are touching, upper levels of resistance so I could enter there and, follow through to the downside as the spot continues to move lower. So I'm going to show you guys what I decided to, take and what I saw with PanW. So with PanW, I saw that, since, late last year, we started a downtrend, right? So I marked out these levels, and to mark out these trend levels, you're really just taking a line and touching these top levels and this bottom level of the channel. As you can see, that's all it is. It's coloring books. You're tracing these lower levels. You guys don't need to make it any harder than it is, right? So I decided that I wanted to enter off of this rejection right here, right? So I missed this initial move, but I saw that, we rejected with high volume off of this level. This gives me further confluence that, this trend line is valid, and this is a trade that I want to look at. So I decided to enter on the 23rd, right? Let's zoom in a little bit. As we had an inside bar. So I'm like, okay, it's a possibility we were just rejected. And as you can see, these last couple times, every time we tap, boom, strong rejection. Boom, rejection down to the downside. And so far, it's been the same story. Look, we're coming up here, tapping and rejecting. So as you mark your levels on the daily, you want to drop down to the 4 hour and the 15 minutes so you can see actually what's happening. There's no reason to go down to the 5 minutes. It's unnecessary. So on the 23rd, I was like, okay, look, we already rejected. Let's see how I can time my entry, how I can get a good entry. So, boom, 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock actually. So it's 4 a.m. Obviously, the market's not open, but you see that we rejected this level again. It's a strong rejection. Look at the candle, large wick, right? Next candle. I see we're starting to form a little trend line right here, right? So I'm like, okay, something's happening. We could probably enter here, right? And boom, so I decided to enter around this area. I'm seeing that, we're not really able to push up higher than these two levels. It's telling me that, this trend line is strong. This is something I want to enter, right? Boom. I believe I caught this move right here, and we left a fair value gap. Now I closed the position because I opened my other position in Uber. We'll get to that in a second. But today I was like, all right, look, the market's still going down. Let's see if we can get a better entry. So I marked out this 4 hour 4 value gap, right? And I was like, okay, look, we're still following this trend line. Let's see if I can get in on this rejection right here of this bearish fair value gap. That's what I did. I entered around here, right? If we drop to the 15 minute, you can get a little bit more precise, and you can see, look, we rejected that hard, right? You want to enter around here. It keeps your risk light because look, if we break above this trend, what does that tell you? We're likely moving, back up to this upper trend. You don't want to hold through that, right? It's $10, bro. Your account's gonna get cooked, right? So you want to enter here, have your stops here. That gives you all of this room for downside, right? And this is just a smaller trend line, right? This is down to 49. That's not even taking into account the larger trend line that I drew out, right? With moves down to possibly 27. So you monitor, right? I enter here, you catch this move to the downside, right? Look at the volume on this candle, right? It's the largest volume we got all day, right? There's a reason for that. We're in this downtrend. We don't really want to hold now. I think that PanW got news earlier today. I don't know. I'm in school. I'm not paying attention all that much. Don't do what I'm doing, right? Pay attention to what stocks you're holding, what news is coming out. I think they have positive news. All right. So ideally, I would have closed this position out. Right. I'm up, I think $100 on it. I would have closed it out. Right. I'm in school, like I said. So I wasn't thinking straight. I had some practice I had to do for my oral argument. But you want to close that out. Take the gains that you get. But we're still rejecting, right? We haven't even really made the move yet. We still have room down to, this first level right here where you could take, you could take profits. So I'm like, I'm willing to hold this overnight and see what happens. Obviously, I've made $100, so I have a little bit of a buffer of what to lose. If we break above this, it shows me that this trade isn't the best right now. I could probably enter back up here for puts or for calls if we break through, right? Manage your risk. So that's my thought process on PanW. And if you look at order options flow, you can see that, someone's positioning themselves for PanW to go lower to 155. This area right here, there was flow for the next 2 weeks. I don't know if you guys know what unusual whales is, but you look on there and see like who's positioning themselves and how with certain stocks. So you see that there's further confluence that we're going down. And as you guys know, we're in the Iran conflict. Let's look at SPY. SPY's been in a similar downtrend, right? It's been a similar story with SPY. It's nothing crazy, y'all. Like we're not doing rocket science here. Understand the macro environment, understand what's happening. It's been a similar story with SPY. Look, we're coming up, tapping, rejecting, coming up, tapping, rejecting, right? And what happened today? Look, we had a flag on the 4 hour last night, tapped, and we filled it. All right, so that was a good sign. I'm like, okay, these puts might work. And that was for Uber. That's what I held overnight. I'll show you guys that in a second. And as you can see, even here, we're rejecting. We're below this level. If we don't hold up this level tonight into tomorrow, it's possible we push even lower on SPY. So you want to keep, you want to keep SPY into account, keep the macro environment into account into when you're taking these trades. So now let's look at Uber. Uber, similar story, right? Let's zoom out a little bit. Similar story, right? We're coming up, tapping, rejecting, coming up, tapping, rejecting, coming up, tapping, rejecting, right? What did I do? I'm not doing anything new, right? The odds that we come up, tap, and reject are higher than we're pushing up, especially in this environment where the market's been going down. Why would I even try to play calls, right? Now look, I saw that Uber came up and rejected. All right, now it's time for me to look for my entry. So I tried on the 24th, right? Caught a couple contracts, eased my way in. I caught a little, something. As you can see, the sell price was higher than my buy-in. Caught a little something, right? That was on the 24th. I sold a little bit early, right? But, it is what it is. I caught, the fair value gap. I was like, all right, let's see if, it plays out. Similarly to what PanW has been doing, right? I've been watching these names. I'm like, okay, I could try to get my entry. We rejected off of here, right? Okay, market opens. I'm looking for my entries, probably right here, right? I'm like, okay, cool. We push lower. I sold here, and then that's when I re-entered a few days later, the next day. I'm like, okay, it's starting to work. Let's continue to hold, right? And they're on the 25th. I'm like, okay, and this is what we caught today. I sold a little bit early. It is what it is. But as you can see, we're starting to show strength, a little bit of strength on Uber. Buyers are stepping in. And let me show you why. We have this long-term trend on Uber, right? This is where you want to be cautious. You're not going to sit here and try to hold the trade, forever. Look at this long-term trend, right? We've been bouncing at the same spot since August of 2024, right? It's plausible that we bounce here. That's why you want to monitor, you want to zoom out. Why are you on the 5-minute chart? There's no need to be on the 5-minute chart, right? There's nothing happening there, right? Unless you're intraday scalping. There's nothing really happening there. Be on the 15, be on the 4. So as you can see on the 4 hour, look, What are we doing? You zoom in on the trend line. It's the trend line I showed you that goes back a couple years. We're bouncing, right? So it's possible with Uber, it might even come back up here. 72. I could look for another entry. Maybe we could push lower to 62. No, it's not rocket science, guys, right? We push lower and take your gains. So, and another thing, when it comes to picking your contract, guys, you want to pick at least a month out. Give the stock some time to move, right? I'll tell you what I do. I don't know if this has any value, but you look at the average, look at the trading volume for the stock, right? Let me see. I don't know how to reset the chart view, right? So the ATR for Uber is $2, right? So it's implied that the stock is gonna move $2 intraday, right? So from here, 72 down to 70, it moved $2, right? So this is a good indication of what am I picking, right? So you give yourself time for the stock to move. I see that, this lower trend is down to 60, right? How do I pick my contracts? I'll take this number, I divide it by 2. I'm assuming that, all right, the stock might move $1 per day, right? Give yourself enough time that if the stock moves $1 per day, it'd reach your target within, the time period that you're picking. So with Uber, right, I got 70 puts, right? This was back on the 25th. On the 25th, we opened up at 74, right? I got it for a month out, right? I didn't need to get that far out, but I'm giving myself time. You buy time, so it's like you're not stressing over what's going to happen every day with the stock. So we pushed lower, and I had time on the stock. Look, we moved $5 in a couple days. That's gonna put your contracts up fat, man. Like you want to buy time, right? Don't buy weeklies. It's a waste of time, waste of money. If you like that, if you know what's gonna happen, inside information, do as you please. But for the most part, you want to buy for a month out. Data's gonna eat at your contracts. If the stock moves sideways, we don't know what's happening in the market, right? Give yourself time. Same thing with PanW. I gave myself enough time on the stock. Let it play out. All right. I'm looking at 150, right, on the 24th. The 24th we're at 162. Look where we're at now. The low for the day was 150. I gave myself time. I gave myself time on the stock. And look how it's playing out. Right? So that's what I have so far, y'all. We'll see how PanW plays out tomorrow. I'll keep updating y'all on how often these are going to come out, but I'll do my best. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Peace.